J-Bone here. Sit back and relax because I'm about to give you 3 crazy Formula One facts that will blow your mind, or my name isn't J-Bone. Your first Formula One fact: did you know that the winner of the 1970 Formula One World Drivers' Championship was not alive when he was crowned champion? The 1970 Formula One season is notable for many reasons, including it being 3-time world champion Jack Brabham's final season, and it featuring the 1970 Mexican Grand Prix, which was so chaotic that Formula One wouldn't return to Mexico for 16 years. However, the 1970 Formula One season is most remembered for being one of the deadliest in Formula One history. This season featured 3 very high-profile driver deaths. There was that of McLaren founder Bruce McLaren, who passed away during a testing session between the 1970 Monaco Grand Prix and Belgian Grand Prix. There was that of promising driver Piers Courage, who passed away during the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort in a horror crash. And most infamously, there was that of Austrian driver Jochen Rindt at Monza. Jochen Rindt's 1970 Formula One season did not start off strong at all. He finished out of the points in P13 at the season opener in South Africa and followed that disappointing performance up with a retirement at the second race in Spain. But after that second race, Rindt started going absolutely crazy. He proceeded to win 5 out of the next 6 races, which included a streak of 4 straight wins, and Rindt was the championship leader by a wide margin come the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, which is where tragedy struck when Rindt passed away during a practice session. However, so large was Rindt's championship lead at the time of his death that no other driver ended up being able to make up the point difference by the end of the season, and it actually didn't even come down to the final race of the season in Mexico, which just goes to show how big Rindt's lead was thanks to his 5 wins. Jochen Rindt was awarded the title of 1970's Formula One World Drivers' Champion posthumously after the 1970 United States Grand Prix, where Rindt had achieved his first career win the previous season. Rindt remains the only posthumously awarded F1 World Champion to this day. And side note, every single championship point Rindt scored in his championship-winning season came by way of a first-place finish, which is pretty awesome. Rindt is truly the epitome of an all-or-nothing driver.
Box for ad read, J-Bone. Box for ad read.
Let me quickly tell you about my sponsor, Athletic Greens. AG1 by Athletic Greens is all of your key health products in one and features 75 high-quality ingredients that give you key daily nutrients and long-term gut health support. I gave AG1 a try because I hated having to remember taking different pills and vitamins, and instead wanted a comprehensive solution to cover all my nutritional bases for the day at once. And I love AG1 because it isn't just that comprehensive solution I was looking for, it also tastes great. I take it in the morning before doing anything else because I love feeling like I am covering my nutritional bases for the whole entire day within the first 15 minutes of waking up. And it literally could not be an easier habit to start. You just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning. Done. And you don't have to drink it first thing in the morning even. It's also a great pre- and post-workout drink. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/fbone. That's athleticgreens.com/FBONE. Link in the description. Check it out. Your second Formula One fact: did you know that every Alfa Romeo car in Formula One history has featured a symbol with a hidden meaning? Along with its iconic main logo, Alfa Romeo has a secondary logo. It's called the Quadrifoglio, which is Italian for 4-leaf clover. The Quadrifoglio brand, based on this logo, is Alfa Romeo's high-performance brand, similar to how Mercedes houses their high-performance models under the Mercedes-AMG sub-brand. The Quadrifoglio's 4-leaf clover design has adorned every Alfa Romeo F1 car that's ever raced, from that of the first ever Formula One champion back in 1950, Alfa Romeo's Giuseppe Farina, to those of Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu this season. And the origin story of the Quadrifoglio is absolutely insane, so buckle up. In 1923, there were 4 Alfa Romeo RLs designed by Alfa Romeo engineer Giuseppe Moroni, all of which were to be driven in the 1923 Targa Florio race in Italy, which was seen by many as the biggest race in the world at that time. The 4 elite drivers selected to drive these cars were Enzo Ferrari, ever heard of him? Alberto Ascari, Giulio Mazzetti, and Ugo Sivocci. Now, Ugo Sivocci didn't have the best luck, which is evidenced by the fact that his nickname, when translated from Italian to English, was the Eternal Second. So in order to try and bring about some good luck for the 1923 Targa Florio race, Sivocci had a green 4-leaf clover on top of a white square painted onto the front of his Alfa Romeo RL. The reason for the white square is said to be that the 4 points of the square represented the 4 Alfa Romeo drivers, Sivocci himself, Ferrari, Ascari, and Mazzetti. Legend has it that as the 1923 Targa Florio neared its end, Ugo, the Eternal Second Sivocci, was set to once again finish in second place behind Alberto Ascari until Ascari's car broke down 200 meters from the finish line. Now, Ascari ended up having his mechanics legally fix up his car on the track, and he was able to cross the finish line before Sivocci passed him, except in their excitement, Ascari's mechanics had boarded Ascari's car so that they could cross the finish line with him, which resulted in Ascari's finish not counting. According to the rules, Ascari would have to go back and complete the race without his mechanics on board from where he had originally broken down. But before he could do that, who would cross the finish line in first place? But none other than the Eternal Second Ugo Sivocci and his Quadrifoglio. Ugo Sivocci won the 1923 Targa Florio, and thus the legend of the Quadrifoglio was born, but not solidified. Now, here's where the story gets sad. Ugo, the Eternal Second, except at the 1923 Targa Florio Sivocci, tragically passed away at Monza a few months after the 1923 Targa Florio. On the car he was driving, an Alfa Romeo P1, there was no Quadrifoglio to be found. Now, some say this was due to some sort of design complication that prevented painted bodywork. Others say Sivocci simply hadn't had time to have it painted on yet. Who knows? This was seen as an omen by many, and so, after Sivocci's death, Alfa Romeo decided to not risk the bad luck that could clearly come with omitting a Quadrifoglio, and it has appeared on every high-performing Alfa Romeo car since 1924, with the only change being that Ugo Sivocci's white square background was turned into a triangle to mark his passing. What an insane story. And by the way, speaking of logos, you can pick up a shirt or mug with the new Formula Bone luxury logo now on the Formula Bone merch shop. The shirt is literally available in 13 different colors, so go check it out because I'm sure there's a color that you like. Link in the description. J-Bow! Your third Formula One fact: did you know that Formula One race stewards have the power to ban a driver from competing in a Grand Prix simply because they are too slow? It's called the 107% rule, and it states, quote, "Unless the track was declared wet by the race director, any driver eliminated during Q1 whose best qualifying practice session lap exceeds 107% of the fastest time set during that session, or who fails to set a time, will not be allowed to take part in the race." So according to the rulebook, the stewards actually could have prevented Red Bull's Checo Perez from starting the 2023 Australian Grand Prix if they wanted to, because he did not set a time in Q1 in Australia. However, Checo obviously did compete in this race because of the 107% rule's exception clause that states, quote, "Under exceptional circumstances, however, which may include setting a suitable lap time in a free practice session, the stewards may permit the car to start the race. Any driver accepted in this manner will be placed at the back of the starting grid after any other penalties have been applied, and behind any driver penalized in accordance with Article 28.3. Should there be more than one driver accepted in this manner, they will be arranged on the grid in the order they were classified in P3, which is free practice 3. The exception is thrown around quite a bit these days. We are currently on a streak of 24 straight 107% rule exceptions spanning from the 2023 Australian Grand Prix all the way back to the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, because this rule is kind of outdated at this point. The 107% rule was introduced in 1996 and served many purposes, both explicit and implicit. It was meant to solve a safety issue that arose when fast, competitive cars would have to deal with getting around slow, non-competitive cars often driven by bad and/or pay drivers. It was also meant to uphold Formula One's high standard of being the pinnacle of motorsport, because it's not the best look when you claim to be the best show on wheels and then have what look to be grandpas driving jalopies out there on the racetrack. The 107% rule was also meant to serve as an implicit way to remove both pay drivers and automatic race entry for all teams from the sport. Both of those were recent developments in the 1990s, which some higher-ups at the FIA and Formula One management thought were detrimental to the sport. Here's a fun 107% rule fact. The Formula One team most affected by the 107% rule was Lola in 1997. While other teams like Forte and Minardi broke the 107% rule more times than Lola, Lola takes the 107% rule crown because they only competed in one race ever, and both of their cars triggered the 107% rule in that race's qualifying. And that resulted in both their drivers in their only ever race being disqualified before the race even started. Lola folded as a team immediately afterwards. Now, Brazilian driver Ricardo Rosset was one of those two drivers for Lola in their only ever race. Pair that with the fact that Rosset has the longest streak of consecutive 107% rule triggerings and disqualifications at 5, and I think all that combined makes Ricardo Rosset the undeniable king of the 107% rule. Fun fact about Ricardo Rosset: he would later go on to buy his 1998 Tyrrell 026, in which he logged 4 of those 5 107% rule disqualifications, and he bought it on eBay. Can't make this stuff up. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe now so that you can see my next Formula One Facts video right when it drops. Special shout out to my top Patreon supporters, Kolky, @RatedBookie, and Glow. Until next time, folks, J-Bomb! J-Bomb!